Okay, Adam. So we've got your team up on screen now
Yeah,
for next game week 17. Do you want to run through your team for our podcast listeners?
I'm spoilt for choice for goalkeepers. So I've got, yeah, I've got either Johnston at home to Arsenal or Meslier away to
The
Spurs.
best.
I don't know who to start. I think actually a lot of people will have a challenge with the goalkeepers. Martinez has got a difficult
Yeah,
fixture
he
this
has. Yeah,
week. McCarthy has as well. So I don't think, I think I'm going to start with Johnston, and I think there'll be a reaction. And as much as I've said about Arsenal, they're still not. I think they only had one big chance
yeah,
against Brighton. They're not creating loads and loads. So I think Big Sam will try and bully them. And I think, and actually, how my team's set up with Son and Kane, I'll want Leeds to concede. So I
yeah.
don't want
That's
to
a
have
good
the
show there.
conflict of interest to be honest. I've got then Robertson and Justin, who are definite starters, and then I've got a spot where I've got Charlie Taylor. So that'll be my transfer this week. I'll be bringing in a defender for Charlie Taylor. So I'll talk through the candidates in a second, and then I'll probably have Balbuena and Kufal on the bench. Midfielders: Salah, Bruno, Son, Soucek, Rafinha. I'll probably bench Soucek over Rafinha because I think Leeds only know one way to play, and
Really.
I just think I'll have four attackers in that game, but Leeds will be going for it. Spurs are great on the counter attack. It could be 3 or 4 all, couldn't it?
Agree.
So,
Yeah.
and then I've got Watkins, Kane, and Bamford. So my plan, I just quickly on Ollie Watkins. I quite like him as a pick long term because I think he's the sort of player that will. I mean, if you look at his returns, he can return against anybody. He's quite with how attacking Villa are. I think he's a better option than Che Adams and Chris Wood. So I'm happy to keep him. I think what I may do at some point is go down to if I'm going to get rid of Watkins, I will probably go down to a 4.5 striker and put the funds into midfield. But I think the thing that made me keep him on the wild card was his performance against Palace. He was exceptional. I mean, he was so good, and he was getting some great chances. So I'm happy. I'm happy keeping him. He plays 90 minutes as well, and there's double game weeks coming up at some point. So
That's right.
that's why I kept him, and I think he's fairly cheap. So I'm happy with him. So my transfer this week, the options that I'm looking at the moment is Bednarak, which would make sense because I originally did have him, and I've got a double game week coming up. So that could be quite a good one. It would cover McCarthy as well in double game weeks. And I actually think Southampton defensively are quite good.
I agree with that.
So they could keep 2 clean sheets in the double game week at Leicester and Leeds. I wouldn't be completely shocked. And I think the one thing that Bednarak has in his locker is the Ward Proud set pieces. Could he get a goal off them? I think that he's got an opportunity to be a hero in a double game week. I think outside of that, I've talked about Rob Holding and I've talked about Sice as well. So I feel they're riskier options personally. I think I'm going to probably go for Bednarak. Um, but that's a decision to be made. I think I've got 5 million exactly. So if there's any other suggestions, feel free to put them in the chat. I'm going to have a proper look tomorrow. But I think if I was asked, put on the spot today, Bednarak is who I'll go for, and then I'll bench him this week and play Kufal away at Everton. So that's what I'm looking like at the moment. Have you got any thoughts? Anything that I could do potentially?
Are you captaining Bruno over Son
Well, we'll go into the
or King?
captaincy
All
chat
right.
in a
So
minute. I don't I
okay. No, I
don't I don't
just
want to spoil the tension on captaincy. So we'll go through that in a second. So
no.
don't worry what I've got on the screen.
You've got your plan. You wild carded with this plan in place. You've been really unlucky with Taylor, Balbuena, Kufal this week, but it swings around out right. You'll get the points you deserve off them in the coming weeks, I'm sure. So in terms of it, I'm surprised we have a Johnston and Meslier. I would say because I think both those teams they both concede a lot of goals. Is the only thing I would say. And even when Leeds keep clean sheets, I know they've kept two in the last week. Both of them have been very, very fortunate. How they haven't conceded, I don't know
Like,
in either game. But
yeah, the reason I did So Johnston, it was always going to be picked. He's got fairly good fixtures, and I fancied Big Sam to sort them out, particularly after the Liverpool game, because Liverpool only had 2 shots on target. So I think with the game spread out a little bit more, big the way he sets up, he does really go for on the defensive side. I thought it would be good for save points as well. So I think a lot of people have gone with Johnston as well. The reason I went Meslier, and I think I've got this wrong, and there is an option to correct it this week, but it'll cost me 4 points. The reason I went Meslier is the save points he's been getting. So prior to the West Brom game, he's been getting to like 6 saves plus for like 5 out of 6 game weeks. And I thought, well, in a double game week, I thought the ceiling for Meslier is quite high, because if he keeps a clean sheet and is making 5 or 6 saves, it'll guarantee him 3 bonus. So, and actually rotated quite nicely on the fixtures with Johnston. The thing that I could do, and it would cost me 4 points, but I could go for McCarthy or somebody in goal, and then bring Dallas in.
Yeah, so there's been some shouts in the chat around your call for defenders, and Dallas definitely mentioned Walker Peters. Has been a lot of shouts for. You know,
I prefer Bednarak to Walker Peters because he's on 4 yellow cards, and I think he's so I wouldn't go for. I can see why people would mention him, but I think Bednarak's a better option for me.
You mentioned Seiss yourself as well. He's roughly around that price, I think. Stones, Eric Bailly at 4.9. I don't think he'd probably keep his place with Lindelof's back. I wouldn't have.
Well, I don't want to take any rotation risks. No. I think if I could, nailed United defender would be good. So it's quite tough to looking at the options available. I could do I'm just going to check I can do this. So I think I can do it. Have I got the funds? But if I go, I could take a 4-point hit and get Dallas in, but I'm reluctant to do it because I just think on another week. I don't know if the fact have I got the funds to do it. I think I have to. What's he 4.8, and then I can do. I can just about do it. So I could go McCarthy and
Dallas. I think they're the only things I would say that I think the only I don't say errors like this all judgment, but they're the things I'm quite surprised at, into that. But
well, to be fair, I did actually have. So can I do it? Yeah, I've got the exact funds to do it.
You better do it now. You better do it now.
Well, no, I'm not going to do it now. I'll have. Oh no, I'd have 0.1 in the bank. So I could do that, and my team. But then it's losing 4 points. I don't know if it's. I'm going to put myself at a bigger disadvantage this game week to do it.
But I think it's the right long-term movement. I got to be honest. I think over the next few weeks with McCarthy in goals, Dallas both in the doubles as well. Yeah. I think you'll get it back with spades on. But a sure shout. We've had just a couple of questions in the chat around why was Soufal. Has he been dropped? I'm 100% sure he was just rested. He's been really good all season. He's been a superb player. I'm sure he just had a rest. And we've got some shouts for Antonio. So I'm just going to move on to my team now because I've got Antonio firmly in my thoughts. So my team at the moment, so I have got Martinez in goals. I will have Creswell, who's playing at Everton on the weekend. Diaz away to Chelsea, obviously not an ideal fixture there. Loughton at home to Fulham. Then I got a midfield 4 of Salah, Son, Bruno and De Bruyne, and a front 3 of Watkins, Bamford and Adams. And at the moment I've got a very strong bench, which I've purposely got for bench boost in 19 of Soucek, Reece James and Dallas. So that's my 15 at the moment. I've had the exact money. I haven't got any funds in the bank, which is not good. But we've had some shouts for Antonio, and everyone's saying he's injury prone. He is injury prone, 100%. But I think for the double game week for West Ham, I don't think you could ask for 2 nicer fixtures actually. Home to Burnley, home to West Brom, and I'm not sure he'll play 180 minutes, but I would get he'd probably get 110, 120. If Antonio's looking fit for game week 19, I think I might get him. I think he's worth the risk. If he breaks down and doesn't get much, gets 4 points, gets 6 points, I'm not that fussed, because the potential upside of someone like him against that defense, he could get a hell of a lot of points. So I'm tempted by Antonio.
I'm not tempted by him at all. So I think his injury record doesn't help, and I think he'll have a lack of sharpness. I think.
We are talking about game week 19 now, is all I'd say.
Yeah,
so
no, I get that.
If it was now, I wouldn't do it. But in 2 or 3 weeks,
I'm not. I'm just not. I think he's somebody worth looking at. But I don't know. I think I don't see him playing both of the games as well. If they're I think they'll be mindful of not losing him, and we'll look after him and manage his minutes.
Nice.
So I'm probably not as excited about. And also think, looking at the two teams they're playing, I think Burnley are quite good defensively, and I'm going to say West Brom are, but I think the Leeds game for me, and I think this is important to state, was an anomaly, because I think West Brom were exhausted from the Liverpool game, where actually they defended excellently. They didn't really. I don't think they conceded a big, they conceded one big chance the whole game, which was the goal. But they were very, very good defensively. And actually last night, if you look at the XG, Leeds scored something like 5 goals off 1.5 XG. It wasn't. Although Leeds were by far the better team, and West Brom didn't help themselves with their own goal, it wasn't like they were conceding loads and loads and loads of big chances. I think Leeds had 2 big chances. So, and a couple of the goals were incredible. If you looked at Alioski's and...
I think in all fairness, Johnson didn't have a chance with any of the goals, did he? They were all superb.
Yeah, I'd expect a reaction from West Brom. Big Sam is not going to be happy. He's not going to be happy with that. And I think defensively, I think they'll respond. So, yeah, I think there's 2 tough fixtures for Anton. I think they're tougher on paper. I think they're more likely to get clean sheets, is what I can see from that.
Okay.
And maybe a 1 or 2 goals max.
So in terms of my plan, so I'm still planning on free hitting in 18. I was thinking of saving that in 17, because I've got a very strong 15. I've got a team I'm kind of happy with. But obviously I can't save in 17 if I'm free hitting in 18, because then I lose the transfer then for 19. So I, like some Arsenal options. You mentioned Holding, mentioned Leno, Saka even. I think they're all really good options. I tell you who I like, and I haven't had him all season. He's frustrated me so much. Is Justin for Leicester. So Leicester now go on a really nice run of fixtures as well. They've got the double in 19 as well. They're both home games in that double, and I really want Justin. I really, really like him. And he was so attacking
against Palace.
He's so attacking. He's so he's super. And apparently, for someone who's a rotation risk, for someone who's going to be dropped immediately, he's played every minute of every game this season so far, which I found incredible as well.
Is that right?
It is,
I didn't. Yeah. I knew, and he's played a lot of the Europa League. I don't know if that includes Europa Leagues, but he's been involved in a lot of those matches.
Yes.
There are certain players that managers trust, and you can see that Rodgers trusts James Justin. And I think some of the comments, I don't think he'll be out of the team when Pereira's back. I'd be very surprised. And I think, like I said before, with Pereira's injury, it's a bad one. He won't be rushed back. I'd expect Justin to at least make the double game weeks. He's a player Rodgers trusts, and I think when you've got that, it's a bit like maybe Mason Mount at Chelsea. They completely there's trust there, and I think he's a brilliant. I actually think he's a brilliant player as well. I love what
I do. He's so dangerous, and he's really, really good.
Yeah, so I've been impressed. I've been impressed with him. I actually bought him back in my wild card because I think I'm more though just like him as a player, and I think. Leicester's fixtures aren't too bad, but he has, like you said, he's got that attacking threat as well.
I think they're decent, their fixtures. They're good.
They're good.
I think over the next few games, they're really high on the ticker, as I say. So they've got Newcastle away, then they're home to Southampton and Chelsea, away to Everton, home to Leeds, away to Fulham, away to Wolves. They're pretty decent fixtures there as well, I think. Pedger in the chat just asked me to repeat the point about the transfers. This is probably really important for those who are, who are new to FPL, or those who don't know the rules. If you are playing your free hit in 18, you cannot carry over a free transfer from 17 into 19. So if you've got a transfer in 17 and you're planning on free hitting in 18, make sure you use your free transfer. It's probably a very, very important point there. At the moment, I'm kind of struggling on where to use it. So my thought was to move De Bruyne down to Rashford, which frees up some funds. But I'm looking, as I mentioned already, I'm looking at the fixtures, at Man City's fixtures after Chelsea. They're home to Brighton in game week 18. They then got their home to Palace, West Brom, Sheffield United, and Burnley. I can't see how I can take De Bruyne out, and I certainly think he's going to be a captaincy option in a couple of those games as well. So I'm going to be doing some kind of luxury transfer somewhere. I'm not too sure what I'm going to do it yet. I don't know. I suppose the only thing I could, well, no, I can't. I've got no money in the bank. I was going to say I could upgrade Steer to a playing goalkeeper, but I can't because I haven't got any money in the bank. So I'm going to have to have a really good think about what I'm going to do with my transfer there. But it's going to be a bit of a luxury one. So
I think if you're happy with your team, burning
I
a
hate
transfer.
burning. I hate burning. Oh.
Yeah, but I was in this position a while ago, just prior to wildcard, where I had a couple of bonus transfers, and I ended up costing myself points because I took Justin out for Reece James. Obviously, Reece James gets injured. Justin gets 8 points or 7 points away at Spurs. So I don't know. And I've obviously got rid of McCarthy this week, thinking about it too much. So I think sometimes it's better to just stick loyal to the players that you've got.
I suppose as well, I could burn because then if I don't choose to free hit in 18, I'll actually have the 2 transfers to go into 18 with then anyway. So I could do, but like I say,
the player that I would possibly get rid of if I'm looking at your team now would be Reece James, because he's got a slight hamstring injury. He's got his knee injury as well, which is being monitored. He would be the one that I would consider getting rid of, I think.
I don't, I think he's 5.1, isn't he? And how much is Justin now? Is he 5.2? I'll have to have a look at that.
I don't think Justin's 5 million, I think.
Oh, he's 5.
Yeah.
Because I could just do James to Justin. Yeah, I could. Yeah.
And I'm not saying I really like Reece James as a player, and I made the opposite move not too long ago.
Yeah.
But I just think that even in the double, if he's still carrying that knee injury, they will look after him and protect him because they've got an okay deputy in Aspilicueta. So I think Chilwell's probably the better option for that reason. I'm looking at your others. I think you keep the other defenders. I don't think you move any of them. Midfield's looking strong. That James to Justin would be the move that I would make.
Yeah.
Or James to another defender.
Yeah, I think I'll do that if I can afford it, because Justin looks really good. And I think backed up in the chat. So Paul Cartwright says James could be out for a while.
Hamstrings are never good, are they?
No.
Hamstrings are never good in the, particularly when you've got games coming thick and fast. But I also think they'll protect him with all the stuff that came out about his knee injury as well. So I think it's one of them that he'll keep being 75% and he'll keep being, in terms of on their FPL thing, I think you just need to, you've got a luxury transfer, get rid. If you're going to get rid, sit with them playing City is the best week to get rid of them, isn't it, really? Because you wouldn't start him, would you? Or you wouldn't be.
No, definitely not. And I think the only other player which I am interested in, and he's got the plum game this weekend actually, is Zaha. Maybe not for 18 or 19, but their fixtures from 20 onwards. Zaha looks really, really good as well, but I just got no room for him at the moment. So, I think that is what I'm going to do. So thank you very much for those.